All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to today's session. So we'll be continuing from where we stopped on Monday to complete the landing page that we started, right? So we're almost done with the home page. And like I've said, from the formula I gave us, after the home page, usually go ahead to go to the solutions, the features or the benefits and some kind of social proof, right? So now we have our title, we have our subtitle, we have our CTA, we have our navigation, but there's no social proof in here. So we can find a way to add some kind of social proof. So you can extend this, right? So this is extendable. You're not supposed to adjust it from this end because the size of the frame is what we are working with. The size of the frame is fixed. That's the width rather, 1440 is what we created our grid with. If you remember, if I switch this, if I toggle this on, okay, we're going to see our grid that we have been working with. This is the grid, the 12 layer, 12 column grid that we are working with, right? So we can decide to extend this, right? So we can start adding other sections of our application. Okay. So now this picture is looking a bit out of place. It's looking a bit out of place. So if you want to, there are different ways we can try to blend it in here. Okay, so I'm going to introduce us to the max tool just by a simple demonstration. So now we have this. So this is the portrait. This is the picture we got the last time from Pexels, and this is the shape that we put as the background for the picture. Okay, so we removed the background of the picture and we kept it here, but it's looking a bit weird and the picture is incomplete, so it's looking out of place, right? So the way we can blend this is to mark this picture into the shape. Okay, let me just demonstrate what I mean by that. Okay, so now I think I'm going to let's reduce this. So I clicked on K to scale it. Mhm. So this is going to scale it. Let me remove the grid so we can see what is being done properly. So now I want this picture to be inside the circle, not outside the circle. So first of all, I'm going to grab one of this circle. If I'm masking it to this circle and I'm going to duplicate it. So I've duplicated the circle here. So from the layers panel, let me add a fill so we can see what we're working with. Right, so this is ellipse 24. Let me change the name to max. I'm going to bring this up here, but it is directly below the picture. So this is the picture. Just focus on the layers panel now. This is the text, this is the photo. Let me rename it. Um, this is the visual we selected, right? So I'm going to adjust it a little so it's exactly where I want it to be. Okay. So now I'm going to select the picture and the mask, the picture and the circle, so that I can mask it. Okay. All right, hold on. Let's do this. Let me reduce this a little. So I'm going to select the picture. I'm going to select the circle. I'm going to go to my properties panel. That's the panel on the right. And right here, you're going to see different tools. You're going to see use as marks. You're going to see union. If I click on the drop down, you're going to see subtract, intersect, exclude, and flatten. So these are different options you can use to edit your element. So what I want to do here is to mark it. So I'm going to click on mark. Okay. So can we so you can see what just happened now. Now the picture, the portrait is not, it's not just hanging out there. It's now inside the circle. It has been marked in the circle. And if we go to our layers panel, what we're going to see now is a max group has been created. Right. So I'm now going to rename this max group and name it our visual, because this is the visual for our hero section. Okay. So this is what it is looking like at the moment. I'm going to group all this so it's Control G, right? I'm going to group it and move it a little bit. So this is what it's looking like right now. Right. So we're talking about adding some kind of social proof. So yeah, get the text to. So now we're going to go back to Open Sans because that's the font we're using for our paragraph text. We're using the best newer for headings, and so it's at 16 pixels, which is fine, but let's take it a little to 12 because we're trying to create a label right now. Let's see. So I'm going to create a kind of a little card that says um experienced trainers used by 100 plus people. So okay, going to create second. Okay, so something like this. So I'm going to group this to that's auto layout. I'm going to add create an auto layout for both of them. Shift A. Then I'll make sure that the auto layout is toggled to the middle. Okay, because right now it's aligned to the top. If you look at your properties panel and the auto layout properties, you're going to see that it's currently aligned to the top, right? I'm going to toggle this to the middle. Align center here. So it aligns it to the center now. And for the space in between those, again, we are working with a 4-point grid system or an 8-point grid system. So we're going to make this 8, right? Then we're going to also group it with the experienced trainers up there. I'm going to put this as hog content, adjust the radius to say 8. I'm going to make this stroke 0.5. Right, so this looks fine. To continue, okay. Okay, so now this is how it is looking. So the point of this is that I'm going to add profile pictures to these pictures here to show that there are 100 plus trainers in this platform or in this okay, but for this I'm going to push this to the right so it is right aligned. Okay, so alignment so that everything it looks proper or the way it should be. The spacing between this is 12. I can make it 16, so it's more spaced out. Then you can add an effect to it so that it's not clashing with the background, right? Okay, because if you're looking at it right now, the circles at the back is looking it kind of interrupting the flow, interrupting your text. So you can simply add a background blur in the effects panel. Okay, so we're going to click on add effect, going to click on background blur, and I'm going to increase the background blur to let's say 20 or 100. Okay, let's see. Okay. All right, so now we can also take this same component that we just created and duplicate it, Control D. Add another one here. Okay, just to give it a kind of balance, right? But it will say different things. So these are different forms of social proof that we're given application. So I can say satisfied users here. So I can just delete this so it's not so overwhelming. I'm going to bring this here instead. Okay, so now to get your profile picture for those places, you can also use plugins. I shared a list of sites and websites that we can get pictures from. But a particular one I like using is Content Reel because it gives you a lot of, especially for profile pictures, when you want to represent profile pictures. Right, so, okay, so this is what it looks like. I want an image. Okay, I want avatars, right? I want profile pictures. So I can go to photos. So now I'm just going to come here. I'm going to select all four. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm just going to select click on photos, right? And that's what happened. It's just it filled it in for me without any stress, right? Just give it. Okay. I'm going to make the stroke of this white instead of black. I'm going to make it black 200 or black 100 rather. That's a lighter color. Okay. So this is what it's looking like at this point. So for the users, I can still do the same thing. Control. Right. So I'm just going to click on photos again, and it automatically just fills in those places with random photos for me. It gave me a profile picture here, so I'm just going to replace this. Yeah, so that looks good. I'm going to change the stroke to white, a bit closer to white. Yeah. So I think this looks better. Okay, so now we have succeeded in completing our hero section, right? We have our everything that is necessary. We have our social proof. So this is our social proof because now we have seen that this application has 100 plus satisfied users. Okay, let me just make this 10K plus. So a bit of diversity, right? Yeah. 100 plus trainers, 10K plus satisfied users, right? So yeah. Okay. Okay. Content rule for the plugin name. Yes. So I'm going to shift this up a little bit. Okay. Remember, we're still respecting our grid, and I'm going to check my spacing now. Okay. All right. So now we can also as partnership with other brands, like Adidas, Nike, maybe brands that are in the field of this gym uh sports field, right? So we can also do that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this text. I'm going to write collaborators. So remember, we are still respecting. Okay, so when sometimes when shapes that you have added before is obstructing you, you can just simply go to your layers panel and you lock it in place, right? So because I'm trying to work on this collaborator, this tool, this text field here, but the background, the previous circle I added as a background shadow is obstructing my work. So I can just go to the layers panel and I'm going to lock it. So once I lock it in, I can do what I want without any obstruction. So also this content will also help you with logo because most of the time when you're working on things like this, a design like this, you might not have you need a lot of placeholders, right? You need a lot of images. Like these are not actually people training you, but like you just need something to represent the trainers for now. So let's say you want logos that you can just put in here. So by the time you get the actual logo you're going to use to for the website, you add it in, right? So even in this content, you can get logos in here. So I'm just going to click the logo and see what we have here. Okay, so there's time and just so let's see. It's it's not um, it's So another one we can use again. So this is a plugin where you can search for any for logos in here. So let me see what I can get. So these are Nigerian brands. Let me see what. Okay, so I can just import this. So the points I just want logos as placeholders. So it's here. I'm going to put this here. So I'm going to import this too. So they might come in different sizes, then you can adjust, right? And most times when you're adjusting sizes and all that, all right, sorry about that. I'm back. So like I was saying, when you get icons or logos from different sites and you're trying to adjust it, it's best to click on K. So once you click on K, it locks the aspect ratio. So when you're resizing it with its aspect ratio, right? Um, so I'm going to click on K and resize. I'm going to put this in here and let me import something else. Okay, so 4 is enough, right? Just import this too. I'm going to close the plugin. I'm going to bring it in here. Then we can start adjusting, right? So I'm going to bring this here. So now because we are working with a dark theme, and so the best color, we're just going to make all this all white, right? We're going to make it white because we're working with a dark theme. So clicking on K again. So like I said before, you can either click on K or you can lock the aspect ratio from your properties panel. Right? So K just means to scale. So scale means from the width and the height to be resizing together equally, right? So I'm going to put this here. So this currently my width is at 245. Let me round it up to 245. And it's scaling, forgot. So I can make this a bit bigger. Okay, I don't want it to be too big. 60. Let me go with 60, right? So my height is 60, so I'm just going to do the same thing for others. Okay. Need to make the height 60. So everything looks like they belong. Okay. So I'm going to make this white too. So it's best to remove all decimals from your work so it's not obstructing things. So the spacing currently is 56, also in multiples of 8, right? So I'm going to put this one next. Okay. Mm, let me reduce this a bit because it's looking. Okay, sometimes you can just duplicate this, right? And just put it back in here. So now I'm going to group all these things together. So once again, Shift A, need to ensure that the spacing between them is 56 or 64, right? So, and I want it to be like, I want it to be continuous, right? So it should be extending to the edge of my frame. So I can decide to include one more. I'm going to duplicate this. One thing about Shift A that is very, very smart. So what happens when I duplicate this? So I'm going to click on Control D. So it duplicated it in the frame, arranged with the same, respecting the spacing of 56 that I put in before. And I can also decide to shift it. So this is the alpha X that I just duplicated, right? So when I want to move it in here, so that this is what it looks like now. Okay. I can move this down a little more. Then change the fill to something a little bit you know, uh, it's way too bright. Okay, so this works fine, but I'll just have to adjust this a little. I can just shift, then I can shift this. I'm going to group this again together, Shift A, and ensure that the spacing between them is in multiples of 8. So it's 37 right now, so I'm just going to make it 32. So I can either do this by selecting this and changing it to 32 here, or I go to the auto layout properties here. So this is the spacing again here. This is the spacing 32 here. I can change it here to 40. Okay. I'm just going to move this down a little down. Okay. So this is what it's looking like, right? So probably in prototyping this, probably expect the the logos and the companies that you're collaborating with to just keep moving around, like a continuous cycle, right? So that's what should be doing, and that's what the idea of this. So you just probably when you're communicating with your developer, you just explain to them what that the animation is supposed to look like, and you can also prototype it too. I'm still going to extend this down more. So let's say we are done with our heroes. We're done with our hero section completely now. We have added the proof, we have added everything necessary, we have added companies that are collaborating with us, and now we want to enter into the features of the platform. Okay. So the best way to do this is like sometimes so you don't get stuck and lost. It's best that you would have created a wireframe, like a low fidelity wireframe, before you actually get into doing the high fidelity wireframe. Like it guides your decision. It guides your decision in, what am I saying? It guides your process, right? So you do not get lost and start wondering what to do next. Okay, so now we want to enter the features. The features. So I'm going to get the text tool again. Just going to click on here, and I'm going to change this to Beba's Neural because it's what we're using for our subtitles, rather our titles. I'm going to increase it to, let's say, 60, no, 64 is too big. 48. Okay. So I'm going to get a shape, a rectangle, to just add some pictures, some box of pictures. I'm going to draw a rectangle, right? So sometimes you can design your high fidelity and your low fidelity at the same time, right? So me trying to get a feel of this part of my design, I can just add my boxes and see how they look, right? So I'm like, okay, do I want to represent it this way? So somebody might decide to represent their features this way. I might decide, okay, no, I do not want this. I want something like, let's say, like this. Okay, something that goes like this, right? So you have a visual, you have the what is talk what you have the content, you have a visual here, you have the content, you have a visual here, you have the content. There are different ways you can depict that. So features, how will you work with your coach? Probably what features are included in this platform, right? How are you going to use this platform to get your best body shape or whatever you came to the platform for? So there are different ways you can do that. So let me delete this and delete this. Okay, so for what we'll be working on. So now I'm going to switch on my grid. So once it comes to adding shapes, right? Shapes that you know that will be repetitive, you should switch on your grid because it helps you arrange them. So this is my shape. I'm going to move this so it aligns with the grid. I'm going to put this in here, aligns with the grid again. So let's say I want four squares in this line. Let me try and work it out. Okay, so I'm going to do this. Yes, so this is perfect, right? So this is how the grid helped me find the perfect width for this part of my design. Okay, so if I click on this now and I look at the properties panel, so the width is currently 292. So this means that using 292 for the width of my boxes, I'm going to have spacings of 24, and I'm still going to respect my margin of 100, right? So yeah. So I can also decide to, let's say I want more spacing, I can reduce this. So just that you can also get, this is also where you get your calculator, right? So now you know that this frame is, the width is 1,440, and you want four boxes. But you know that boxes, you have to subtract 100 from here, 100 from here. That's minus 200. So now you have 1,240 space to work with. Honest, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. That means you have to work with, right? So now we're going to say, and you want 4 boxes in it with spaces between them. So this way you start doing your mathematics. 1,240 divided by 4. What do you have? Means how am I going to get my spacing and arrange it so that everything is equal? Right? So we're the ones that do this mathematics. A developer now just has to look at our design and probably just come here and okay, this is 292. They type in 292 in their code. But we're the ones that actually get down to the detail and decide and find out what width would work well in this part of my design, respecting the spacing and respecting the margin. Okay. So I'm going to delete this. So let's work on the features. Let's see what we can do on the features, right? So I'm going to get the text. So like I'm going to push it. It's currently behind my rectangle. I'm going to bring it forward. I'm going to change it to open sans. Make it 16 pixels and make the text black because it's currently having a white background. That's regular. I can make it okay, semi-bold. So I'm going to say complete our 10 part. So now I'm going to, this is my text. I'm going to adjust the spacing, right? So this is, okay. So let's just work with this and see how we go with our calculations. So now I'm going to group it with the one here. So I'm trying to do probably 1, 2, 3, 4, like a kind of step-by-step feature of the application or how you're going to use this application when you end up purchasing it or joining or logging into the platform. So I'm going to group this two. Ensure the spacing is respecting 32. Then I'm going to add a background. Let's say so remember this is this is auto layout, right? So it's intelligent, like I've said before. So I can add a field to the auto layout itself, like we did when we're adding our buttons field. I've added a field. I'm going to add the padding, the top and right padding. Then I'm going to add 16 pixels for the left and right. And I'm going to add let's say 32 for top and bottom. Okay. So this is what it looks like now. I'm going to delete this shape we added in before. I'm going to push this down here, right? Just let me round the corners to like 32. It's a bit too round. I'm going to go to 24. Still a bit wrong. Let me try 16. Okay, so 16 is better. So I'm going to move this down because this was just our frame, like basically our low fidelity wire frame, because we're trying to see what can work with the space allocated to us. Now I have this. Okay, let me reduce the space in between this. So this is 24. Now I'm going to duplicate this. Let me see what works. Hmm, 5 can actually enter. So I'm going to delete 1, delete, and I'm going to. So it only has a spacing of 21. So I'm going to make it 48, right? 64. 64 is a bit too big. So I'm going to delete this, this. Something is spacing of 48. Let's see what this is. 241. Currently, the width of this is 241. It's 268, right? So let's um right. So now we see that using 274, a width of 274, and the spacing of, let's see the spacing, it's spacing of 50. Okay, so we ended up respecting the grid and the spacing system. Okay. So you can actually do this with your calculator. Just rather than just let's say if you're with your calculator there, you can just so 1,440 minus 200, 200 for the margin. The left is 1,240, and you want 4 items in there. So divided by 4. Right, so you're left with 310 spacing for each box. But you need spaces between them. You need 3 spaces between them. So let's say 1,240 minus let's say you want to give them spacing of 48, 48, 48. So minus 48, minus 48, minus 48. So left is 1,096. 1,096. Then you need to divide this by 3. That's 365. 1096. 1 to 40 minus 48 minus 48 minus 48 divided by 4, rather 274. Okay, so from my calculation, 274 would be perfect for this, and it will give us spacing of 50. Okay, so let me just do this again. I need to switch on my width, my grid. So this is outside the grid, if you can see. Outside grid, so there is something wrong here. So I'm going to select all of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to go here. I'm going to push it inside, right? So that it's perfectly on my grid. So this is this and this is this. Just ensure consistency. So I'm just trying to show us how that it might involve a little bit of mathematics here. So I had to do the calculation with my calculator to come to the realization that using a width of 274, I can have a spacing of 48 between items on this part of my screen, right? So now I can now continue. This is 2, this is 3, this is 4. Okay. It's your coach and right. So if you don't have all these content, you can just use Lorem Ipsum to fill that in. You don't have you just focus on the design for now. For the features section. Alright, so okay, I'm just going to leave this like this. I'm going to group all the mm, 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 shift A again, and I'm going to group it with this shift A. I'm going to ensure the spacing once again. So I'm going to make the spacing 80. Right, so I'm going to make it a bit smaller, let's say 64. Remember, everything should be in multiples of 8, like I have said. Okay. I'm going to remove this grid so we can see how it is looking currently. Okay, so this is how it is looking. Okay, so sometimes remember hierarchy, we want some things to pop and we want some things to not that's obvious. So we can come to this. Since this is a bit too bright, I'm going to change the white to, this is foundation black 100. So I'm going to make this, going to the styles section. I'm going to make this same thing. I'm going to go to black and 100, right? Yeah. So now we can still see it, but it's not clashing with the feature section as much as before, right? It's just there in the background and it's still obvious, but it's not interrupting our flow. Okay. So this for this now, if this is looking too plain, you can simply add some, you can decide to add some, maybe an icon here, but there are different ways to make your design pop. Right, so let me just do something. I'm going to make the width, I'm going to lock the aspect ratio. Remember, we can either use K to scale, or we can decide to lock the aspect ratio. So I'm going to lock it. I'm going to make this 50, right? All right, so like I was saying, I do not want this circle here to respect the settings of my auto layout. So what I can do to make it to defy that setting is to click on this. I'm going to click on the circle. I'm going to click on Control and select the circle, right? So I've selected the circle, and I'm not going to go to the properties panel. It's an ellipse, the position, this is the layout, this is the appearance, this is the field. Then you're going to see this. There's an icon here that says Ignore Auto Layout. So it's going to give this circle an absolute position. So the circle can do anything it wants. So I do not want to respect that spacing. I do not want to be in the center of this auto layout. So I'm going to click on Ignore Auto Layout. Right. So now the circle can move around while still being out. So if being in auto layout means that if I move this around, no, if I move this figure around, right? The circle moves with it because everything has been grouped together. So it's not respecting the settings of the auto layout, but it's still in the auto layout. Okay, so I'm going to just take this circle, I'm going to move it here. I want to add a little bit of brand color. Yes, I'm going to make this brand color orange, orange 500, right? Yeah. I can make this circle a bit bigger. 7, 60. Okay, so now I can decide to add an icon in here. So for number one, I'm talking about complete our 10 parts quiz. So I can add a quiz icon in here. Then I'm going to do this. I'm going to duplicate the circle, Control D. Duplicate the circle and put one in here. Let's see. Yeah, so I've added something for all of them. So I can just get some icons and put it in quickly. Because now I have this circle in here, so I'm going to increase the spacing between this to give it more room to breathe. Remember, white space, like white space, give your items room to breathe. So I need to make this 96. Yeah, so this is what it's looking like now. So I've considered adding a little bit of brand color in here, like so. So probably later on would try to attach the icons, but let's move on, right? Now I'm going to talk a little bit about. So I've talked about the benefits, the features. Let's see what we can do. I'm going to make this open sans because like I said before, we're using open sans for paragraph text. We're using the best newer for headings, right? So I'm going to reduce the font size to 16 or maybe 24, right? So it's not small. Okay, so I'm just going to fix. So now, if you notice, your text to your typography has different ways it moves. Right? So by default, like default, it's going to move in a straight line, right? So because currently its layout is set to auto width. So auto width means that it's going to take the width of your text. So if you keep texting and if you keep typing and typing and typing and typing, it's just going to keep elongating. The width is just going to keep expanding, right? So this is auto height. So if I click on auto height, it means I'm going to have set the height of my text, right? So now I'm going to align this to the left. So I'm going to extend this like this. So now it's still respecting my margin of 100. Yep. So I'm going to just add a little bit of visual hierarchy here by making this a lot more bigger. So 64. Nope, 64. So remember, like we said, you don't. It's not just size that you can use to show importance, right? Like what I did here, I used color to make this collaborators less prominent so that it doesn't distract us from the teachers. Right? So I can still come here and just click on select the coach and make it black 100, right? Since black 100 is a little bit lighter. Okay, so this is what it's looking like now. So this is our focus now is on 100 plus, right? And we do not have anything distracting us from the 100 plus. Okay. Um, okay. So now I'm going to group the two of them together again in auto layout. I'm going to check the spacing. It's currently 18. So I'm either going to make it 16. I'm going to go to 20 or 24. Remember, we're respecting the 40, the 4-point grid system. So it's currently at 24, right? So now I need a visual here. If I'm going to add this somewhere here, I need a visual in here. So and just try and work on something. Let's see. Okay, so if currently if you see what just happened, I'm resizing this circle without any constraints. So it's no longer equilateral, it's just moving anyhow it wants, right? So this is what you avoid by clicking on K before resizing. So once I click on K, that's scale, I can then resize perfectly. Just want to resize them. Okay, so yeah, so this is okay. So another that helps you is to just lock the aspect ratio. You don't want to go through the stress of clicking on K every time you want to resize. Just lock the aspect ratio. R. R. Yeah, so this is something like this. Right? So now we can switch on our grid again. Our grid to, to ensure that we are respecting the space. So I'm going to go to this text, right? I'm going to ensure that this is here and that this is here, right? So that's half, half is taking half the space allocated to us. So the visual should, let's continue. All right. Okay. So, like I was saying, I switched on the grid to adjust to ensure that my visual and my text is respecting the grid system, right? So, just going to just this Right. So so again, the content can also help us with this, but the best thing you can do is to just I think you just try pixels because pixels will give us something more personalized. Content free will just give you avatars and people's faces, but using PNG web talk to give you looking for perfectly. Um, I'm going to probably have a fixed class to complete this, right? So we're going to fix a class and fully, right? Because concept. So I'm going to fix a class. So we should just look out for. So we're going to complete this session within the week. I'm just going to another class, right? So we can complete the design and head on to other things, right? So because of time, I'm going to end the session here. I'm going to see you all in the next class. So just be on the lookout. I'm going to drop a message on the next